Good evening and welcome to another edition of Rebel Watch. I'm Carson Waire. With me, NewsWatch sports reporter Cameron Haas, NewsWatch sports anchor Hayley Hood, in here hanging out on this Friday. Thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend. A couple things we're going to talk about on the show today. The women's basketball team, obviously we're going to find out what seed they will be in the NCAA tournament on this Selection Sunday in just a couple days. Men's basketball wrapped up their season this week, a tough loss to Tennessee in the SEC tournament. But hey, they won a game, something to build on for next year. Going to give a couple season awards, things like that. Going to talk about the softball team. Hit a bit of a rough patch this past weekend, guys, in their home opener, but a lot of games left, a lot of things left to look forward to this season. Then, of course, the baseball team off to a hot start again, as we expected. We're going to start things off with some talk about the women's basketball team. So a very exciting year so far. Coach O's really got this team motivated, ready to play. And it's pretty exciting to think about, this is a team that could definitely make some noise here in the NCAA tournament. But, of course, the last game they played was a tough loss to South Carolina. Haley, what went down in that game? What are some things that maybe didn't go our way, things we didn't do right? What happened?
Right. So we went into overtime, and South Carolina took us on their 17th consecutive time that they played us. It was not very good for us. We put on a fight, but I guess in the end it wasn't good enough, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Cameron, what do you think we could have done better to get the job done in that game?
What they could have done better, I think that's what 28 other teams are asking themselves that South Carolina has played this year. Ole Miss, obviously, is the only other team besides Stanford, who's currently ranked number 2, that has been able to take South Carolina to overtime this season. But I think in this game specifically, South Carolina definitely just had the emotional edge. They wanted revenge from the last time that them and the Rebs played. So definitely not, I think it's more so not what Ole Miss didn't do, but more what South Carolina did. So, even Coach O tweeted out after the game and said, when South Carolina plays like that, no one's beating them.
Definitely. South Carolina, a very, very tough team to beat. Many think they're just going to run away with it this year in the tournament. Obviously, got to play some games and find that out for sure. But, on our side of things, Angel Baker, an incredible season for her, obviously, and, took away the Gillum Award, a very important award here in Mississippi. It is the award to the best women's collegiate basketball player. So, Cameron, just talk a little bit about, what an accomplishment that is for her.
Yeah, for sure. She's obviously had a great season. It's also not just a great accomplishment for Angel, but also the Ole Miss program. It's the third time that a Rebel has been able to win the Gillum Award, and she averaged 15 points a game, over 4 rebounds and 2 assists this season, and she's just been a backbone for the team, and she'll definitely be missed once she graduates this year.
Also, don't forget though, she reached the 2,000-point club this year, so that is a huge accomplishment for her.
Definitely a big, big accomplishment for sure. Her, Madison Scott, a couple other key pieces, going to hopefully lead this team to some success in the upcoming NCAA tournament. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back after that and discuss the men's basketball team, just a sort of an overview of the season. We'll be right back. Sweet guys. All right, very good job. Very good.
This is fun, folks, as Baker's peeling it. Little heat check. Snow Collins for 3. Bring it up.
Said, I love Madison Scott.
Ole Miss Rebels are having a lot of fun, and you can see why.
It's that time of the year again, fellas. When the mornings are hot, the afternoons are hotter, and football is on its way back. Now, games is won by the battles fought in August. Everyone that's not revered as an Ole Miss legend has been in your shoes before, trying to survive that Mississippi heat, competing for a spot, and knowing the sacrifice that it takes to make it in this league. You go into this money collection of men from 100 different places, and if you work, you'll emerge from it as one team with one goal and one heartbeat. The SEC awaits you, and if they don't know who you are now, they will soon.
My passion is journalism. Here at the University of Mississippi, we produce a nightly half-hour newscast, broadcasting regionally on cable and globally on the World Wide Web. It's the kind of experience that is preparing me to walk into any news station in the country with the skills and abilities I need to succeed. So it's not just preparing me for the real world, it is the real world.
Where are we gonna go?
Someplace warm. A place where the beer flows like wine. Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called
Oxford, Mississippi.
To see it is to believe it. You hear about it, but you just have to see the party.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grove. The sound and fury are here. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Did he got a toe down?
Pageantry, the pride, the pomp is unmatched and unrivaled.
This stadium has come unhinged.
This is what college football is all about.
Oh, as he gets walloped.
No coach is having more fun than leadership.
This is the place to be in college football right now.
In here hanging out on this Friday. Thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend. Going to keep things on the court here, talk about the men's basketball team for a little bit, guys. And, you know, a tough loss to Tennessee, obviously. Haley, just real quick, recap what happened in that game.
Right, so the Ole Miss Rebs, they took a loss to the Tennessee Volunteers, but the Tennessee Volunteers are top contenders to win the SEC. So it was a hard loss, and it was a sad goodbye to all the seniors because it's come to an end, the basketball season. So it's sad, but we played a good game. We put on a good fight. The ending score was 55-70, so only a 15-point swing. So I think we're good.
Yeah, definitely a tough loss of the season, but, you know, all things considered, a whole lot of turnover, you know, with coaching and just with the rotation. You know, the guys that were getting a lot of playing time early in the season, it doesn't really look the same as the five and, you know, the rotation that we used at the end of the season. So a lot, you know, it says a lot about these guys. They fought hard, a lot of talent on this team. And speaking of a lot of talent on this team, guys, we're going to give out some season awards here, talk about some highlights from this season, because there were a lot of things to smile about in the end. You know, the record might not show it, but a lot of fun moments for this team this year. So Cameron, we'll start with you. You know, who's your team MVP?
Kind of an unusual pick, but if I had to, I would pick Win Case, the interim head coach. I feel like after he stepped up, after Kermit David's exit, I feel like the team has responded to him. You know, we're able to pull off 2 games under him. You know, it's a hard one to answer because the season didn't go as planned, but I would have to say Win Case.
Definitely, yeah, tough situation. You see a lot of interim coaches come in and, you know, their knees sort of buckle. They don't really know what's going on because they're not used to being in that position of power. But, you know, for him, hey, coming in, winning a couple games, nothing wrong with that at all. Haley, who's your MVP?
Okay, my MVP is definitely Matthew Morrell. Number 11, he is just so good. He leads the team every game. He's always a top contender. He fights. He puts on a show. He averages 14.9 points per game, which is pretty high at the college level. He also averages 3.6 rebounds and 2.6 assists, and he's scored more than 20.6 times this season. So he's putting on a show for the Rebs, and I think he's going to be a top contender next year as well.
Yeah, definitely. Morrell, that's a guy that's going to help us a whole lot next year when he comes back. He's a guy that can fill it up, get on the score sheet fast, not afraid to shoot any shot, too. You see him take some contested shots, but, hey, at the end, they go in. So, Cameron, we'll shift a little bit. What's one quality that you think the team, you know, excelled in this year?
I feel like them, even though they had, you know, some rough games, I feel like they were still able to go out there and put up a fight each time. You know, it is hard to keep going back out there when you're not getting the results that you are wanting, but I think just being able to refresh their mindset each week was impressive to watch and keep competing with each team.
Definitely. And Haley, for you?
Right. Next year, obviously next season, Matthew Morrell and Jamin Brakefield, they're going to come in hot their senior season. I really don't think they're going to play games. They're going to want to take it home. It's their last bang as the Ole Miss basketball player. And also Amari Abram, and I think TJ Caldwell is going to come in hot next season. He didn't really get much playing time this season, but when he got on the court, he showed out, and I think he's going to do really good next season.
Definitely. Yeah, some things to look forward to. And, one thing that a lot of people around Oxford are discussing right now is who's going to be the head coach next year. And there's some candidates that are pretty exciting to some people. And, the thought of having a new coach here to shake things up has been, it makes you smile. It's definitely something to look forward to for next year. So, Cameron, who are some of the candidates that, might be on the docket to get hired?
Obviously the reports now they're saying that Chris Beard is become the top prospect for the Rebs. I think he's a great pick. I feel like what Lane Kiffin has done for football, Chris Beard will be able to do for basketball, like in terms of notoriety and attention that he can bring to the program. He's a proven winner everywhere he's gone. Obviously brought Texas Tech to its first Final Four, and then obviously University of Texas took him away, gave him a lot of money, had a top 10 program there. And, sadly, he got some personal issues. Obviously, Texas had to let him go after he was charged with domestic violence. But subsequently, the charges were dropped, and now, he's available for teams like Ole Miss who need a head coach, who need a leader. And I think if Ole Miss is able to get him, they'd be lucky to have him.
Definitely. And, with that Texas Tech team, as you mentioned, that went to the Final Four, some talent on that team, but compared to a lot of the other teams in that field, not a ton of talent. A great coach, definitely a guy that really gets his guys disciplined and ready to win. And I'll tell you what, if we made the big dance next year, I don't think this town would know what to do. If we dance next year, definitely. So, Hayley, talked about these coaches that could possibly be coming here to coach the team. What players are they going to have to work with? Who's returning next year that's going to make a big impact for us?
Returning next year, like I said, Jamin Brakefield and Matthew Morrell, it's going to be their senior season, so they're going to be coming in hot. They are going to want to fight. They are going to want to play. TJ Caldwell, he's going to bring it in hot. He won fun fact, he won the dunk contest at Square Jam, so I'm hoping to see him come into play with all these dunks next season. So, yeah.
Definitely. So that's enough about basketball. Definitely a very exciting season for the men, and for the women, we've got no clue. We're going to find out. We'll see if they can make a run in the NCAA tournament. Again, as we mentioned, the tournament selection Sunday is this Sunday, and we will find out what seed the women's team is. We're going to find out who they're going to be playing, all that good stuff. Going to transition things to some spring sports. After we take a short break, we will come back with some coverage of the softball team. Don't go anywhere.
Nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
Legacy isn't just about where
you welcome all of you back to Rebel Watch. I'm Carson Waire, with me Cameron Haas and Hayley Hood. Just to discuss the basketball team, men's and women's. Now we're going to move things on to some spring sports. The softball team, a very successful season last year, and so far, up until this past weekend, it was looking like it was going to be the same. A lot of season left, obviously, but the Ole Miss Classic, a couple things went down that, really, I don't think were in the game plan for the team at all. So, Cameron, just talk about what happened this weekend. You lose some games that kind of make you scratch your head a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. The first 2 days of the tournament, went as expected, 3 of the 4 of them being shutouts. But Sunday, just things seemed to come unraveled for the team. Obviously losing to both Southeast Missouri and Mount St. Mary's. This actually broke a 59 non-conference game winning streak that Ole Miss had. They just weren't able to produce anything offensively, and I think after such a disappointing loss, to have to come back out on the field 30 minutes later, you could just tell they were deflated, and I think ultimately that first loss on Sunday ended up turning into 2.
Right.
And just carried over.
And like you said, like, we lacked offensive production. We could not produce. We couldn't get on base when we were down. It was just, we couldn't turn around. We hit foul balls. We struck out. We couldn't find our momentum. So I think that was some really big problems for us.
Definitely, but hey, you never know. You see a lot of teams, they'll lose, especially in basketball. You see it a lot. You'll see a team lose a game they're really not supposed to lose early in the season. It kind of lights a fire under them. They come back cleaner and better for the rest of the season. So we hope that's the case with this team. And I think with the fabric they've got, I think that'll be what happens. So, as we look forward, though, there's still a lot of things to be positive about as we go forward, because the SEC schedule starting. Obviously, the team opens up against Tennessee this weekend, number 4. So that's a big test for us. But there's been a lot of things that have been going down so far this season that they make you happy. They're definitely good things to see. Definitely, a team that's probably going to make some noise in the SEC this year, as tough of a conference as it is. So, Cameron, what's been going on so far this year? Who are some key performers that we've had?
I think pitching has been really strong for them. It's been a strong suit. I think some top performers are actually Brooke Vestal and Ansley Furbush, both pitchers. They've been consistent so far this season. So I think they'll definitely be 2 to rely on, and it'll be good to see what they do the rest of the season.
Yeah, in my opinion, my MVP right now is 5th-year senior Michaela Alley. She's climbed to number 2 in the lineup. Her batting average is .404. She's producing. She's doing good. She's coming in hot this season, and she has just been performing. She has the best team, 23 hits in the first 21 games, But yeah, I think she's just going to continue to perform for her 5th season as a senior.
Definitely. If you're hitting 400, you're slashing
right.
If you're hitting 400, definitely. So, definitely some positives. And Furbush, as we talked about earlier, this team maybe out of the gate, maybe the offense isn't huge every game, but when you got somebody like her on the mound, you could play that 2-1 ball game, or you could play that 3-2 game, that kind of that grind it out and move the runners and just push a few across, and that's enough to get it done for you. When you got a pitcher like that, that's a big luxury to have for sure. Right. That makes it easier on the coach. That's all about softball. We're going to come back and talk about the baseball team as we head into the tail end of this edition of Rebel Watch. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Whenever I look at the
That vision starts here, at the University of Mississippi. What will you be remembered by? Your character? Your contributions? Your friendship? Your legacy will define who we are now and who we are becoming for our state, our students, and our future. Ole Miss, build your legacy.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact.
Dagger with the shot clock down to 1.
That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield.
Fagan from the corner with a triple. Burrell for 3, and that's a big response. 3-ball, yes. Miss shooting lights out of the pavilion.
Ed, give him one more. Wow. Alley. Oh.
No, you can't teach that. Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We are rebels. For more than 160 years, we've been accomplishing the impossible, from conducting the world's first lung transplant to helping prove Einstein was right. From preserving the past to saving the future. We are Mississippi's flagship university, a place where passion and learning unite. where friends become family, where small-town charm meets world-class innovation. We are the University of Mississippi. We are Ole Miss.
And welcome back to Rebel Watch, winding down this edition of the program. I'm Carson Waire, with me Cameron Huss and Hayley Hood, hanging out on this Friday. Going to wrap things up with some talk about the baseball team. They've got a weekend series against Purdue that are kicking off right about now. And the team's been off to a pretty hot start this year. Some tougher opponents that they played. And Hayley, talk about some of those opponents. Definitely not a cakewalk to start the year.
Right, it was not a cakewalk indeed. It was some tough components, not funny competition. They got off starting very, very strong. They performed well against Maryland on their weekend competition. They went 2-1 with Maryland, which is pretty good. I was expecting a 3-0, but I'll take the 2-1. And then also they beat Southern Miss 11-5. And obviously Purdue starting off today. I'm rooting for the Rebs, and y'all better be in the student section cheering them on too.
Yeah, definitely. And Cameron, just talk a little bit about playing good teams early in the season. That really helps you out in the long run. You might get a couple dings on the record. You might not be 20-0 to start the season, but it really does help you.
Yeah, it does. Different coaches have different philosophies on what kind of teams they play in the beginning of the season, but Bianco definitely likes to schedule good teams and to really test his team and see what kind of team he's working with. I think also with so many players being in different positions, it also kind of sees how they're going to be doing, how things are going to work out and play out. But I think it'll definitely build a lot of confidence for the team and just good experience overall.
Yeah, definitely. And, the SEC schedule, the SEC portion of the season creeping up. Every day we get a little bit closer to it. And, Cameron, it's tough this year. Tougher than, especially since we've been in school. I mean, it's tough this year. A lot of teams in the top 10 are playing their baseball in the SEC. Cameron, just talk a little about, this is going to be a test.
Yeah, the SEC is definitely dominant in baseball. 6 out of the top 10 being SEC teams. It makes for a very grueling and tough schedule, but I think the benefit of it is that if you're able to make at least the top half of the conference, you're most likely going to get a bid into the NCAA tournament. But yeah, obviously LSU I think has been proving themselves to be a pretty strong number one, but I think Ole Miss has done just as well so far this season. Both are looking very strong. Tennessee had a couple unusual losses, mainly the one to Grand Canyon, so we'll see if they're able to keep up their top 5 ranking. But yeah, the field is strong this year. Definitely.
And, some thought that we might not be in position to contend despite, the championship last year, but they say, oh, you lose so many guys, you got guys down on injury, it might not happen this year. This might be the year that, it's a little too much and there's too much talent elsewhere. But tell you what, some of these transfers, Hayley, that we've got are making some real noise so far, and
right.
They've slotted in really nicely.
Right. Starting with Ethan Groff from Tulane. Mike Bianco described him as a base stealer and a defender hitter. He comes out and he performs and he shows out for the town. And Xavier Rivas, he's from UND. He's a power hitter, and I think maybe potentially in his future he could be a top contender for the best pitcher on the team. Honestly, he's coming in hot and he's gonna produce for the team.
Definitely, Cameron. What does it mean for the fabric of a team when it's an obvious effect on everyone when you lose a couple of your best players. You lose Graham, you lose Elko, no more bench, and you lose a couple guys on the pitching staff. How much does it sort of put everyone at ease, the coaches, the players, everyone, and even the fans, when you've got guys that slot in and almost seems like kind of pick up right where they left off?
Yeah, when there were so many question marks and for guys to be able to come in and do so well, it definitely is exciting to watch. Obviously Calvin Harris a pitcher now and Kemp Alderman now playing in the outfield. It's exciting, and it makes just the team proving themselves that even with the losses, they're still able to compete, and they should be able to make a run to defend their national championship
Definitely.
this year.
And hey, we know that in baseball. The regular season only means so much, just about getting in the tournament. And then, if you got the juice at that time, you can take it all the way. We saw that last year. Well, thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend. That's all for Rebel Watch. Spring break next week, so we'll take 1 week off, but we will be right back the next Friday after that with coverage of Ole Miss sports and beyond. I'm Carson Waire, with me, Cameron Haas and Hayley Hood. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Rebs.